The New York Giants are going to the playoffs. After going 4-13 just one season ago and firing Joe Judge after his second year with the team, the Giants look unrecognizable. New York is 9-6-1 and has secured a wildcard spot in the postseason. Saquon Barkley has been outstanding and looks like the Barkley of old. Daniel Jones is having the best season of his career, in my opinion, and both Barkley and Jones are likely going to get offered multi-year deals in the offseason. It's been a complete shock that the Giants have been so good, and if you're looking for some reason of how everything turned around, look no further than Brian Daboll. Nobody expected the New York Giants to actually be good this season. The roster alone didn't appear good enough to succeed, and there was still a lot to be desired from Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley hadn't looked like himself, and Brian Daboll was entering his first year as an NFL head coach. It didn't matter. The Giants were good. New York won its first 2 games of the year versus the Titans and Panthers before losing its first matchup in Week 3 versus Dallas by 7. The Giants turned around and won their next 4 to jump to 6-1. New York defeated Chicago, Green Bay, Baltimore, and Jacksonville over the span. A lot of people, including myself, were very skeptical still of the Giants, even at 6-1. The Giants were winning a lot of close games, and it was hard to figure out if New York was for real or not. The Giants lost to the Seahawks in Week 8 to enter their bye at 6-2 and in amazing position to make the playoffs. New York beat Houston after the bye, but began to slip. The Giants didn't win any of their next 4 games. They lost to the Lions, Cowboys, were blown out by the Eagles, and tied the Commanders. That left New York at 7-5-1 and in danger of missing the postseason, but the Giants figured it out. New York downed Washington in Week 15, and after a close loss to the Vikings, defeated the Colts in Week 17 to ultimately make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Since the New York Giants defeated the Patriots in the Super Bowl for the second time, the Giants have only made the playoffs once. A blowout loss to the Packers in the 2016 wild card round. Tom Coughlin was the Giants head coach for 12 years before he was forced to resign. Ben McAdoo took over and led the Giants to the postseason in 2016, his first season as head coach, but he was fired in 2017, and Steve Spagnuolo was the interim. New York hired Pat Shurmur, who only lasted 2 years, and then hired Joe Judge, who was also fired after 2 years. That led to the Giants looking for a new head coach this past offseason and eventually hired Brian Daboll. Daboll was a very successful offensive coordinator. He got his start in coaching in 1997 and was an OC for the Browns, Dolphins, Chiefs, Alabama, and finally, the Bills. Daboll is one of the guys that is credited for the development of Josh Allen. He's had a lot of success. Daboll has been a part of 5 Super Bowl championships, a national championship victory, and was the assistant coach of the year in 2020. He was a decorated assistant and has already thrived turning around the Giants and, more impressively, turning Daniel Jones into a serviceable NFL quarterback. The New York Giants declined Daniel Jones's 5th-year option in April. That maybe is a decision the Giants regret now. Daniel Jones is having the best season of his career. He's thrown for a career-high 3,200 yards and has 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. One of the biggest differences has been his usage in the run game. He had never rushed for over 500 yards in a season, and he has over 700 this year. Jones's career high for rushing touchdowns was 2. He has 7. His performance this season really does put the Giants in an interesting position. Jones is not a top guy in the league at all, but he's significantly better than any replacement that is out there. It was reported that the Giants are going to offer Jones and Saquon Barkley multi-year deals. It is also very possible that one of the two gets franchise tagged if a deal can't get done. I think it's the right decision for New York. I would consider drafting a late quarterback if you like them, but Jones should be re-signed if it's at the right price. And I don't think anybody is expecting him to get some kind of big-time contract. The Giants are in an interesting spot, but the reality is, declining his 5th-year option was the correct decision based on his first 3 seasons in the pros. The New York Giants selected Daniel Jones 6th at the 2019 NFL Draft after his time at Duke. Jones had an amazing preseason before starting his rookie season as the backup to Eli Manning. He got his first start in Week 3, and he played pretty well. He completed 23 of 36 passes for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 2 touchdowns, but fumbled twice. The Giants trailed the Bucs by 18, and New York came back, and Jones had a late game-winning drive. In a Week 16 win over Washington, Jones became the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw for 350 yards with 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He had a solid rookie year, throwing for 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. However, he did lead the league in fumbles with 18, 11 lost. He had a really rough sophomore slump. He also led the league in fumbles with 18. He also had probably the most iconic play of his career when he ran 80 yards, but lost his balance and tripped before the end zone. Jones missed 2 games due to a hamstring issue and later an ankle injury. He finished the year just shy of 3,000 yards with 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He did end up leading the league in fumbles again. Daniel Jones only played in 11 games in 2021. He suffered a neck injury in Week 12 and missed the rest of the season on injured reserve. Jones finished with 2,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Daniel Jones has had a great turnaround season, but it hasn't been better than Saquon Barkley's. I thought Saquon was done for. I really did. Barkley was so good to start his pro career. He rushed for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons and had a major role in the passing game in both years. His 2020 season ended very fast. He unfortunately suffered a torn ACL in Week 2. We didn't see a ton of success for Barkley in the next 2 years. He returned from injury in 2021, but he didn't do anything crazy. He wasn't that good. Saquon played in 13 games and rushed for less than 600 yards. The Giants did still pick up his 5th-year option before the season, keeping him in New York in 2022. I think it was entirely reasonable to say that we had seen the best of Barkley, but he's been good again this season. He has that burst and ability of the old Saquon from 2018. Barkley has rushed for 1,300 yards and surpassed his previous career high. He has 10 touchdowns on the ground and has rushed a career high 295 times in 16 games. It has been really, really cool to watch him return to his old form. He's been the biggest part of the Giants offense for sure, and he and Daniel Jones have been the key to the Giants' surprisingly good year. I still don't love Daniel Jones. He's fine. He is 100% better than whatever the Giants' alternative is in the offseason, unless New York landed like Lamar Jackson or something. Chances are the Giants would be worse in the near future if Jones walks. The contract situation is going to be interesting, to say the least. The Giants can easily screw this up and pay a relatively close to average quarterback way too much money. Jones needs a lot of help around him to succeed, in my opinion, and re-signing Saquon Barkley is going to be huge too. He's been just, if not more, important to the Giants' success this season. That's going to be the real test this offseason, is how those two are managed, but the future looks pretty bright in New York. Brian Daboll is that guy. This Giants roster had no business being a playoff team, and were commonly picked to be one of the worst teams in the league preseason for a good reason. There are a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Giants fan. Just hope New York re-signs Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and it's not at a horrible price.